right, joining me now, Democratic Representative Karen Bass of California, who spoke here last night, and Anne-Marie Slaughter, President and CEO of the think tank New America, who's worked under Secretary Clinton at the State Department. Let me start with you on that note, you, Anne-Marie, on that note, Joe Biden, about sort of American greatness, because I do think it is sometimes hard, I think even for an objective observer, not a Hillary hater, right, to look at the world and you think, man, 600,000 refugees in Europe, ISIS slitting the throat of a priest in Normandy, it does seem like the Middle East is on fire and in chaos. What is going on in this world? And wasn't she one of the people that was there when all this stuff blew up? I mean, I don't mean that in like, I think there's some people who are going to hate Hillary Clinton, but there are, I think, people in the middle who think, really? Like, what is the answer to that about what America's place in the world and Hillary Clinton's relationship to it?
So, I mean, the first place, you never can blame a Secretary of State for what happens in the sense of, blaming the people in the 30s for Hitler.
Right.
The ISIS is, and Islamic extremism is a generational-long threat. What I think you can say is she believes in strong leadership, and she is more convinced that we have to have skin in the game, probably, than the president, in the sense of leading with our allies, making sure they do what they need to do. But to do that, we've got to also be there. So on Syria, she would have been out there sooner, stronger, and I think it would have made a difference. On Russia, she was part of the reset. The reset didn't hold, but she at least got a very important arms control treaty negotiated. Without that, we'd have more nuclear weapons than otherwise. And she negotiated a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel that was enormously important. So you do what you can do while you're there, but you're not responsible for the world falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, part of it also is a sense, the subtext here, and I think what will be really interesting, the president addressed it head-on last night. This sort of weird ideological inversion that's happening in American politics, right, which is like who owns the future, who feels ascendant and who feels descendant. This is a coalition right now, in some ways, that feels ascendant.
Right.
Even though there are a lot of people that are hurting economically, particularly I think some of the core Sanders supporters who feel disempowered. But the difference in the vision of America is really quite striking, and it was last night.
Right, absolutely it was, and I made reference to it in my comments. So if you compare the attendance at this convention, which to me is reflective of America, and especially America moving forward into the future, the convention that we saw last week was an example of the past. I mean, it lacked diversity completely.
Well, that's not true. It had a lot of diversity on the podium. It lacked diversity in the...
I mean, come on. They had to go out of their way to make that podium diverse. Yes. And I think that they did it in particular after the criticism of the first day. It was one of the least diverse environments I have seen ever. And so I think that we are an example of the future. I absolutely think that.
But then, so how do you think about Hillary? It's just such a striking image everyone talked about last night. First black president of the United States.
Right.
He's hugging this woman who's the first woman nominee.
Right.
We're in this moment of this tremendous backlash politics. I think part of the job of the speech is to sort of create a picture of American greatness that can pull in people that aren't in the Democratic coalition right now.
Yes. I mean, so, I run an organization called New America.
Yep.
This is the New America, right? The New America is majority non-white. And and what is powerful about the message here, sort of stronger together, is there's room for everybody, and that actually together we are strong. It's not, it is the source of our strength, and that we reflect the world, and we can be in the world and partnered with people. But it is a historic moment.
But that optimism, I just got to say, like, people I talked to throughout this campaign, reporting, working $12 an hour, or like, who have seen their incomes gone down, they don't feel like powerful and optimistic and ascendant. They feel screwed.
Yes, but I think the question is who is going to deliver, who is going to change that?
Absolutely.
Because all of the messages from last week were coded messages that...
Not even that coded.
Well, exactly. I absolutely agree with that. They weren't necessarily coded, but they were messages that said, you know what, those people have compromised our quality of life, and it's because of those people that we have the problems we do. And to me, we all come together and we fight to improve things.
And those two things are tied together. We know it is much harder to come together with social solidarity with people who don't look like us. Right? The states that have the biggest welfare state are the most homogenous. So the challenge is that we come together and we understand our collective humanity so that we can once again provide for the people who are.
But how do you come together if people are not even in the room? They're not even in the discussion.
Well,
I know you are.
That's the question, though, right? I mean, to me, that part of what is the challenge, really, Clinton, is a convincing case of that kind of social solidarity you're talking about. And also, just finally, I want to hear from you, Anne-Marie, having worked with her. How does she overcome the gap that her husband talked about, the caricature Clinton and the real Clinton?
Well, part of it is the minute she's in a job, people like her. When I started working for her, people constantly came up to me and said, you know, I was a Republican and I really didn't like Hillary Clinton and I didn't vote for her, but boy, she's doing a great job.
What about her ratings during the time she was Secretary of State? She got higher ratings than the president did.
Oh, she was huge.
In fact, there was some point about in 2012 how she was actually more popular than the president.
Exactly.
Karen Bass, Congresswoman, and Anne-Marie Slaughter, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoy this speech.